growth hormone's negative. Right in the middle, nothing. Growth hormone less than point, green, green, green. Nothing.
Go f yourself if you thought I was on shit. Nothing. It's all green. What's up, guys? Derek, moreplates.com. Today we're going to be talking about Bryson DeChambeau. We've talked about him once or twice on the channel before. He had a pretty, if I recall, a hilarious description of his diet model from his coach at the time. This was on the Natty or Not I did on him like a year ago or something. I'll put up a card in the corner to that video if you haven't checked it out. But this time he is getting tested for PEDs and showing the results on camera. I've had this video on my watch list for a fucking minute. Finally getting around to it. Nice clickbait. Am I on steroids? Has the picture of the results here. Taking pills. Man, hands on face. I am dumbfounded at the fact that I tested positive for steroids and I'm posting it on my own channel. Like obviously good clickbait here, bro. I got tested for PEDs. Here's the results. All right, let's get into it. I went to take a steroid test and received my results. Okay. Let me see it, bro. I want to see how absolutely bulletproof this is.
We're getting a test. Here we go.
Under investigation for performance-enhancing drugs.
Hormone delivered to his house.
Did you ever take substances to enhance your performance?
Yes.
We use steroids to recover from, wounds.
All right. Today's the day. I'm gonna go get tested for PEDs. Let's see what happens. And we got the cat to confirm or deny. Anyway, I wanted you guys to see this and showcase this because nobody else is gonna do this.
No one else is gonna do this. Dude, tons of people would be willing to do this if they were actually aware of how to do it. Like you are, what are you doing? Like you're going to a lab on your own accord to get this done. It's not random. It is not a PGA Tour, like fucking dictated test. This is you going to Quest, presumably on your own, to get a steroid test. I'm assuming. So if this is the case, fucking plenty of people would do this. You are not timing anything in any way that is representative of what would be a randomly selected biomarker representation or urine analysis or anything of that nature, presumably, but I'm willing to be proved wrong. Is this random? Is this actual official stipulated testing from your league of sport? Or is this you paying for your own shit at a time that you've chosen with parameters that you've chosen specifically?
Medical health information that I'm willing to disclose. And I want you guys to know that I did this in a way that was hopefully natural and, just hard work. I know what I did.
He looks a lot leaner than last time I saw him. So if you guys don't know, you should watch my last video I did on him. He gained a fuck ton of weight and his performance metrics increased pretty substantially to a point that people were very suspect. And there had been some back and forth in the pro golf community about who's on PEDs, who did what, who's cheating, and little guy, guys shit talking each other at the top of the sport. And he is one of the most highly, speculated individuals, and understandably so, given how his performance changed in a very short time frame.
Okay, so got the deed done and I did a P test. This is obviously gonna be a short video because of how quickly the process is.
All right, so obviously, it goes without saying that without Quest, really confirming anything, or somebody who's unbiased as a third party to verify, we don't know it's his actual blood and urine that was taken, could have been somebody else's, but let's just give him the benefit of the doubt and say it is his. Let's continue.
But we're gonna go speed training right later today and also work on the game a little bit, so I'll be showing you some stuff in that regard. In the meanwhile, before we get the test back, because it does take about a week or so. Enjoy it and keep watching. Okay, we're trying to get to 220, we'll see.
All right, let's skip ahead here.
He's gonna do squats. I might do a little bit. Now it's time to go check out the results. All right, guys, here in the Bahamas, I just got a random email at 10:30 at night. All negative is expected. See attached, you're clean. Ha ha ha, from Dr. Lacey.
All negative is expected. See attached.
And then we'll show the actual output here. But you zoom in, it says all negative, negative, negative. I just want to expand a negative, negative. Drug class tested all those. For those, growth hormones negative. Right in the middle, nothing. Growth hormone less than point, green, green, green. Nothing.
Go fuck yourself if you thought I was on shit. Nothing. It's all green.
Reason why I talked about PEDs in the last video, because I wanted people to realize this is my secret weapon. This is better than steroids. I've never experienced anything like this in my entire life, nor will I, as we've over doubled my strength output in very, very short time spans. Yes, I work hard, he works hard on me, but I'm telling you, this is better than steroids. Way better than anything you could ever do to your body. It's expected.
Okay, so obviously if you have the best strength, conditioning coach, whatever the fuck, your results will improve with anabolics. Like, let's be honest. Like, you saying that you have the best coach doesn't discount the fact that there's performance enhancing advantage to be had with the exposure of anabolics. And when it comes to testing parameters in golf, you know, how stringent is it? How frequent is it? It is a bit more lax than most sports. And to be honest, there are a lot of sports that are not as scrutinous as you would have assumed. Like when you have the UFC, for example, and USADA, they are what I would consider, besides, you know, Olympic style testing, to be the gold standard. And then in a descending order underneath that, you have other sports like NBA, NFL. Like, these are leagues that are far less scrutinous, with randomized testing and slaps on the wrist if you get popped, and literally burying results where you don't even know what happened. Guys like Edelman, you know, getting random fucking, you know, anabolic steroid pops and then just saying, like, I don't know what happened. He gets, you know, a few games, slap on the wrist, and then he's back to playing and no one gives a shit. Like, that's the kind of stuff that happens at a lot of these top sports. With the actual professional golf sport, which is a weird way to grammatically say that, but I can't fucking talk today apparently. Here we have drug testing. So this is a interesting survey that is done on top golfers. No filter. Players sound off on Brooks versus Rory, Tiger, Bryson, hot drivers, much more. It's back, and it's a doozy. For this year's edition of our always revealing golf.com anonymous pro survey, we protected the identity of 52 card-carrying PGA Tour players so they could speak candidly about the hottest topics of the day. And one of these topics is about drug testing. So if we go down to how many times did the tour drug test you last season? We have never, 7%. So that is not too promising. Once, 7%. Twice, 15%. 3 times, 22%. 4 times, 39%. 5 times, 10%. Hot takes, it felt like 10. I had blood drawn once. So, and if of that blood test, like, what are we checking for exactly? It's going to be likely aberrations in your hematology via a biological passport to assess blood transfusions, EPO deployment, or red flags of it to then subsequently test for its actual presence. Likely no HGH testing. If you were going to do an HGH isoform differential immunoassay, it's a lot more cost prohibitive. The detection times around it are very, very short-lived, to a point where you likely would not get popped even if you were, you know, literally using it the fucking day before. It would be a potential, like, you know, flip of a fucking coin. Like, if you even get a pop of it, if you get tested in the morning the next day, depending on the dosage deployed, depending what you're using, actually, you know, that is a bit too general of a statement to make, but just to put it lightly, it is something that is not very sensitive. And if you use HGH, even within a relatively short period of time, depending on the dose, the likelihood is pretty high that you're going to not get popped, unfortunately. So, or fortunately, I think this is a sport where, like, HGH for, like, actual connective tissue integrity, like, of any sport, the NBA, golf, like, where would HGH be super fucking useful? PGA Tour, bro. Obviously high utility in this sport here. So again, you had blood drawn once. What was likely included? Maybe an HGH test. Likelihood is low. It was probably more so a standard biological passport. And do they test for steroids in your blood? Do they test for shutdown of gonadotropins to see if you're on bioidentical testosterone? No, they do not do that because it's not in the budget, bro, you know, or they just don't give a fuck, one of the two. So never, obviously not promising, once, twice, 3, 4 times, majority of individuals 4 times. So, you know, over the span of a year, getting tested, you know, every 3 months randomly, what you would hope to be. And how much of a window do you have before you have to be subjected to that testing? And if you are using bioidentical agents, you know, are you going to be detected if you understand what you're doing? Likely outcome is no. And when you look at what he got tested for specifically, this is not going to be representative of a WADA banned substance panel. This is like a rinky-dink fucking Quest Diagnostics kind of bullshit test, to be honest. I'm not saying they can't detect PED use if you're using like a synthetic anabolic steroid within a couple weeks of the test and then you get tested. Like, yeah, you might pop on a fucking Quest Diagnostics banned substance panel, but there was a reason why there was an entire WADA banned substance list. And bioidenticals are things that are actually looked for using things like recombinant, you know, gonadotropins or synthetic analogs of them, using if you have a aberration in your steroidal module through a testosterone to epitestosterone ratio at a 4-to-1 cutoff, not at a 6-to-1. Like, this is how outdated this test is that he got done. Not only did he choose when he got it done, so it completely fucking invalidates it, but over here, you can see this testosterone to epitestosterone ratio of greater than 6. Like, this is a ratio that has not been used by any organization that's been wanted to be taken seriously for like a fucking decade, dude. Like, this is so outdated. The ease of getting around this with bioidentical testosterone is like absurd. Like, I've done videos on guys using upwards of, I think, like 300 to 500 milligrams of test and beating a ratio of 4 with genetic, you know, predispositions, of course, but individuals who understand this shit, this test could have been got around very easily, even if you were randomly subjected to it, to be honest, dude. So the fact that you were just showing up at the lab on your own accord, paying for it, it's not a bulletproof test. It's not showing me gonadotropins. It's not showing me your steroidal module is not sensitive enough. Like, none of this shit is actually indicative if you're on TRT. It's not indicative if you're on recombinant HGH, other than from a replacement standpoint, other than like here we have a growth hormone test using, can't even fucking read because the timeline bar is in the way. Let's see, growth hormone. I'm trying to find the actual test. Here we go. Growth hormone tested using less than 0.1. And again, is this using an isoform differential immunoassay, or is it testing for IGF-1 over time that actually stays elevated for weeks on end? You know, the likelihood is very, like, you could easily be on like a full spectrum of bioidentical compounds, which is probably what the majority of guys cheating in the PGA Tour are doing, and it would not have been picked up by this whatsoever. This is a laundry list of synthetic anabolic agents that would be picked up through GCMS testing, a testosterone to epitestosterone ratio in your urine of 6, bro. Like, 4 is already fuckable with. If that was a word. So again, you know, kudos for doing this and, you know, for trying to show, you know, that you're natural. I understand that you probably get, you know, a lot of criticism or, you know, claims, including, you know, for me, I made a video where I was, you know, suspect myself. Obviously, there's no factual concrete statements about that he definitely is or not. The point of the matter is he's getting this test as a way to prove that he's natural. If anything, even if this was bulletproof and you had LH, FSH being shown, if you had your IGF-1 showing, if you had a testosterone to epitestosterone of 4-to-1 with concurrent gonadotropins showing through blood work separately through a lab that also did a blood draw that wasn't just for, you know, hematology, but actual for metrics that fucking matter, you would have proved that for a span around that test of a time you chose that you were natural, but not that before that, you weren't, you know, doing shit. So again, it is not something that, like, to be honest, this doesn't prove anything other than the fact that you haven't used a bunch of stupid to use compounds that no one in their right mind would be using at all. Like, these are all synthetic anabolics that no one in the PGA Tour is gonna be using. Are you gonna be using clenbuterol to increase your fucking drive? Probably not. Are you gonna be using Frazzabol? No, you're not, bro. Are you a bodybuilder? Are you going to be using fucking oxymethylone, or are you going to be using stanozolol? Like, these are things that could be useful if you had no testing whatsoever, but ultimately bioidenticals are the name of the game in sports right now, in my opinion. And none of this shit would be, like, using it on its own solely too would be not ideal choices anyways. When you have something broad spectrum like testosterone that enhances energy systems, hematology, force production, neurology, like all of these things simultaneously, and it's really hard to detect with a 6-to-1 fucking T to epi-T ratio and no gonadotropins concurrently, no carbon isotope ratio testing whatsoever. Again, there are certain metrics you can use to really like own in and figure out the likelihood of somebody is doing some shit around this testing window. And not only do we not have the validity of a randomized test subjected by the actual sporting organization that you are competing in, this is you choosing it on your own accord, going to Quest whenever you want. But in addition to that, the test is just not sensitive enough and it doesn't have enough metrics, unfortunately. So this does not show me definitively that you are not on HGH or used it. It does not definitively show me that you don't use bioidentical testosterone. It does not show me definitively of the main compounds I would be suspect of for a PGA Tour athlete who increased their drive by a fuck ton of yards, dude. So for me, I'm just laying out the details about why this means nothing, to be honest. So anyways, kudos to him for spending the money on it and to, trying to do something that is, nobody's fucking doing. There are people doing shit in an actual good way though, dude. Like there are individuals like Matt does fitness, putting up tens of thousands of dollars in order to try and prove his natural status. He's not even a professional athlete. He's just a fitness fucking guy on YouTube. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm a fitness industry guy too. But ultimately, individuals who like really want to do the like legitimate bulletproof testing are subjecting themselves to it through legitimate organizations, paying the money to get it done, having individuals interpret it that aren't themselves, and are actually getting all the biomarkers in question that they need to actually give a more comprehensive like diagnostic analysis of what is in their body at a period of time in a longitudinal format too, where you can actually establish like, okay, the likelihood is essentially zero that you could have been on PEDs of any capacity for the entirety of this whole thing, or like, for the foreseeable future for this entire testing window. And prior to that, if there's a giant like fucking year window essentially where you weren't using shit and deterioration of performance wasn't evident, there was no physique changes, none of this stuff, then it's pretty likely if the guy's actually natty. But for you, showing me a random laundry list of synthetic anabolics, having an EPO analysis here, an HGH test of undisclosed, like how you actually analyzed it, and no IGF-1 testing. So like for me, that doesn't really tell me a whole lot, to be honest, from that aspect. It's not, like for me, I can't definitively state that you are natural from this, to be honest. And even if I could, and I had everything, it would still be ultimately a test that you chose the date of, you subjected yourself to. So it kind of invalidates it entirely, to be honest. So anyways, that is my overall stance on it. I'm not definitively saying he is or he isn't, but he's definitely one of the more suspect guys, and understandable why he wants to prove otherwise, shut up the haters kind of thing. But this doesn't do shit, unfortunately, Bryson. So anyways, that is my analysis, my stance. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. All the comments help the algorithm. They're much appreciated. Like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplates. Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below. My preventative medicine and hormone replacement therapy platform, Gorilla Mind nootropic formulas, Gorilla Mode pre-workout formulas, designed myself from scratch, my recommended diet model for gaining muscle and sports performance, clothing company that sponsors me, anything else I'm associated with, it's all in the video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.